A ship is breaking apart in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. 14 days of storm, 14 nights without sun or stars. The sailors have thrown the cargo overboard. They have thrown the tackle. They have given up every last hope that anyone aboard is going to survive. 276 people trapped on a disintegrating hull in total darkness, and not one of them can see land. And in the middle of that darkness, a man stands up. He is not the captain. He is not the navigator. He is not the centurion in charge of the military escort. He is a prisoner. He is in chains. He has zero authority on that ship, and yet he stands up on the deck of a dying vessel and tells every single person aboard that not one of them is going to die. And then Luke, the man writing this account, does something that should stop you cold. In the middle of a shipwreck narrative, in the chaos of a ship literally coming apart underneath them, Luke pauses the action. He stops the story, and he writes down a number, not an estimate, not a round figure. He records the exact head count of every living being on board. 276 souls, not about 300, not the crew and the soldiers. 276, as if someone walked through a storm at sea counting heads on a sinking ship, as if the number mattered more than the rescue. And here is what almost no one has ever stopped to ask. Why? Why would the most precise historian in the entire New Testament stop in the middle of a disaster to record an exact number? The answer is that the number is not a head count. It is a mathematical signature. The word he used to count them is not the word you think. The bread the prisoner broke before the ship went down was not a meal. And when all of it comes together, what you are reading is not a travel story at all. It is one of the most carefully constructed passages in the entire Bible, and it has been sitting in the book of Acts for 2,000 years, read by millions, and almost never seen for what it actually is. Subscribe to the Buried Testament right now. We are reading the accounts they buried one at a time the way they were actually written. Hit subscribe so you do not miss what surfaces next. Luke, the man who wrote this account, was a physician. He is the most precise writer in the entire Bible, the only one who dates events by naming every ruler and power, the only one whose numbers scholars trust as data rather than poetry. And in Acts 27, he was not writing secondhand. He was on that ship. The narrative is first person. We sailed. We were driven. We were all in the ship. 276 souls. Luke was in that storm and he wrote the number down, 276. And the number he recorded is one of the most quietly extraordinary numbers in all of Scripture. Because it is not random, it belongs to a very specific mathematical family, and the only other member of that same family in the New Testament has been puzzling readers for just as long. Write it down, 276. Now do something simple. Start adding from 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. 6 plus 4 is 10. 10 plus 5 is 15. Keep adding. Carry this all the way from 1 to 23. When you reach the end, the sum you arrive at is exactly 276. The number is what mathematicians call the 23rd triangular number. A triangular number is what you get when you stack rows of objects into a perfect triangle. 1 on top, 2 in the next row, 3 in the next, all the way down. If you build a triangle with 23 rows, the total number of objects in that triangle is exactly 276. And if that sounds like a coincidence, a trick of arithmetic and nothing more, hold it in your mind for a moment and listen to this. There is exactly one other famously precise number in the New Testament that has puzzled readers for 2,000 years. In the Gospel of John, chapter 21, after the resurrection, Jesus appears on the shore of the Sea of Galilee and tells the disciples to cast their net on the right side of the boat. They do, and they haul in a catch so large they cannot drag it aboard. And John records the exact count, 153 fish. Not about 150, not a great many, 153. And if you do the same arithmetic, if you add every whole number from 1 to 17, the sum you arrive at is exactly 153. It is the 17th triangular number. 2 precise numbers, both triangular, both recorded in the middle of events where nobody should have been counting, both on the water, both connected to something miraculous, one from the Gospels, one from Acts, one written by John, one written by Luke, and both belonging to the same mathematical series, the triangular sequence, a pattern that many readers trained in Greek mathematical traditions would have recognized immediately. The ancient world took these numbers seriously. The Pythagoreans swore oaths on the triangular arrangement they called the tetractys, and the early church fathers read them in scripture. When Augustine of Hippo sat down to interpret the 153 fish in John 21, he did not dismiss it as a random detail. He identified it as the sum of the integers from 1 to 17. He did the arithmetic in writing, published it, and built an entire theology of grace and law on the scaffold of that one triangular number. This was not a fringe exercise. This was one of the most important minds the church has ever produced, reading the text with the numbers awake. And yet, for all the centuries of commentary on 153, this parallel with 276 is rarely discussed in mainstream scholarship. The 17th triangular number and the 23rd, one in a net, one on a ship, both from the sea, both recorded with a precision that defies the chaos of the moment they describe, both sitting in the New Testament like two halves of a single coin, separated by hundreds of pages, written by different men in different decades, and belonging to the same mathematical family. Once you see the pair, you cannot unsee it. Drop a comment right now. Before this video, did you know that both 153 and 276 are triangular numbers, and that both come from miracles at sea? Write your answer below. Your comment helps this video reach the people who have been reading Acts 27 their whole lives, without ever noticing what was sitting in the math. Now go back to the verse and read it one more time, because there is a single word in Acts 27 verse 37 that most people slide right past without a second thought, and that word changes the entire meaning of the count. The verse says they were 276 souls. Souls, not people, not passengers, not heads. The Greek word Luke used is psuchai, the plural of psuchai, and sushi is not a casual word in the vocabulary of Scripture. It does not mean a warm body to be tallied or a name on a list. Sush is the word the Greek Old Testament uses in the 2nd chapter of Genesis, when God breathes into the dust and the first human becomes a living soul. It is the word used in the 6th chapter of Revelation for the souls of the martyrs crying out from beneath the altar of God. It is a word that carries the full weight of a conscious, eternal, God-breathed being. Luke could have used any number of ordinary Greek words. He could have written anthropoi, which simply means people. He could have written andres, which means men. Those were the standard words a historian would reach for in a shipping record or a military census. He chose neither. He reached for the one word that transforms a passenger manifest into a theological statement. He wrote a soul census. He tallied not bodies but psuchai, living souls, using the same word that Genesis uses for the breath of God entering human clay. And when you hear it that way, the sentence changes underneath you. 276 souls on a ship being torn apart by the sea, not passengers on a transport vessel, souls, God-breathed beings. The language is no longer the language of a shipping log, it is the language of creation. The language of the book that begins with God separating the waters and calling life into existence out of nothing. And here, near the end of the Bible, in the middle of another set of churning waters, another act of preservation is taking place. 276 souls held together on a disintegrating vessel, about to pass through destruction into life, and the man who told them they would survive was a prisoner in chains who had been visited in the dark by an angel. And that brings us to the part of this story that almost no one talks about, because it is so strange that most readers speed past it without letting it land. Paul is a prisoner. He is in Roman custody, being transported to the imperial capital to stand trial before Caesar. He has no rank, he has no title, he has no authority of any kind aboard that vessel. The centurion named Julius is in command. The captain and the ship's owner make the navigational decisions. Paul is cargo. He is a body being moved from one jurisdiction to another under armed guard. And yet from the very first day of the voyage, something about the dynamic is wrong for a prisoner story. When the ship puts in at Sidon, the centurion treats Paul with unusual kindness and lets him go ashore to see his friends. That is not how you treat cargo. Then before the ship departs from a harbor called Fair Havens on the southern coast of Crete, Paul stands up and warns the entire crew that if they sail now, the voyage will end in catastrophe. He says it plainly. He tells them there will be damage to the ship, to the cargo, and to their lives. The centurion reasonably ignores him. You listen to the captain about sailing, not to a preacher in chains. But the storm proves Paul right. They leave Fair Havens and the northeastern gale hits like a wall, and for 14 days and 14 nights they are dragged across the open sea with no sun and no stars, and no way to know where they are or how far they have drifted. The sailors give up all hope. The text says it plainly. All hope of being saved was finally given up. And then, in the total dark, Paul stands up again. Picture this. A chained man rising to his feet on a pitching deck, surrounded by soldiers and sailors and passengers who have not eaten in 2 weeks, who cannot see the sky, who have accepted that they are going to die. And this prisoner, this man with no rank and no power and no right to speak, opens his mouth and tells them what is going to happen next. He says that last night an angel of the God he serves stood beside him, and the angel said 2 things. The first was, "Do not be afraid, Paul. You must stand before Caesar." And the second was, "God has graciously given you all those who sail with you." Stop on that second line. Read it again. God has given you all those who sail with you. Not God will protect the ship. Not most of you will survive. God has given you these people, all of them, as if the 276 souls aboard that ship were a gift, placed deliberately into the hands of a man wearing chains. The prisoner has just been told that the lives of every person on that vessel, including the centurion who holds his chains, belong to him. The captive has become the custodian of the crew. Authority in this story flows from one place and one place only: the mouth of an angel speaking in the dark to a man the world considers powerless. And then Paul does something that Luke records with a precision that is impossible to miss once you know what you are looking at. On the 14th morning, as the sailors detect shallow water and suspect they are near land, Paul urges everyone aboard to eat. He says they have gone 14 days without food. And then he takes bread. He gives thanks to God in the presence of all 276 of them, and he breaks it, and he begins to eat. And Luke writes that the rest of them were encouraged, and they all ate as well. He took bread, he gave thanks, he broke it. Read those 3 actions one more time. He took bread, he gave thanks, he broke it. Those are the exact 3 verbs in the exact same order that Luke himself used in his own gospel to describe the Last Supper. In the 22nd chapter of the Gospel of Luke, on the night before the crucifixion, Jesus took bread and gave thanks and broke it and gave it to them. Luke wrote those words about Jesus at the final table. And now in Acts, Luke writes the same 3 words about Paul on the deck of a Roman ship in a storm. A physician trained in precision does not accidentally echo the most sacred sequence of words in all of Christianity. On the deck of a Roman military vessel, in the gray light before the storm shatters the hull, a prisoner in chains performs the act that mirrors the last meal Jesus shared with his followers the night before he died. Bread taken, thanks given, bread broken, in the presence of 276 souls who are about to pass through destruction and come out alive on the other side. The shape of the scene is unmistakable once you let yourself see it. It is death, and then it is life. It is bread, broken before the body of the ship is broken. It is passage through the water into something new, and every single soul survives. Not most of them, not the strong swimmers, not the ones who grabbed planks. All of them. Every one of the 276. The exact number prophesied by the angel. The exact number recorded by the physician. The exact number that, when you add every integer from 1 to 23, you arrive at. Hit the like button right now. Not for me, for the algorithm. Every like tells the system this content deserves to be seen. If you have spent your life reading Acts 27 as a travel story and never noticed the triangular number hiding in the soul count, or the word souls where you expected the word people, or the bread broken in the language of the Last Supper on the deck of a sinking ship, hit like so that others can finally see what was always there. So now read the verse with everything visible that was always sitting underneath the surface. Acts chapter 27 verse 37. We were in all in the ship 276 souls, 276. The 23rd triangular number, a number that falls on the same mathematical series as the 153 fish hauled from the Sea of Galilee in the Gospel of John. Souls, psuchai, not a head count of passengers, a census of souls, written in the language of Genesis, the same word God used when he breathed life into the first human being, counted on a sinking ship by a physician who chose every word he wrote with the care of a man diagnosing a patient, saved by the prophecy of a prisoner who had been told by an angel that every one of those souls had been placed in his hands, fed with bread taken, blessed and broken in the exact pattern of the last meal Jesus shared before the cross, and every single one of them washed ashore alive on the island of Malta, gasping, soaked, shaking, and breathing. Try to read that verse as a shipping statistic. You cannot. The number is too precise, the word is too loaded, the bread is too familiar. The echo of 153 fish in a net on another sea, written by a different author in a different book, is too mathematically close to be coincidence and too far removed to be copying. 2 triangular numbers, 2 maritime miracles, 2 moments where someone paused in the chaos to count exactly when counting, made no earthly sense. And both times the count turned out to be a number that falls on the triangular series like a key, Settling into a lock it was carved to fit, and 276 sits in the middle of that tradition, hiding in a storm, in a travel narrative that most readers treat as a biographical aside on the way to Rome, overlooked by nearly every modern commentary. While the readers of the early centuries, the ones trained in the same mathematical traditions that Augustine used, would have seen it immediately: a triangular number, a soul count, a word chosen with deliberate precision, and a pattern that connects it to the only other triangular number in the New Testament, separated by hundreds of pages and written by a different hand. You can verify it yourself. Acts 27 verse 37, John 21 verse 11. Add the integers from 1 to 23. Add the integers from 1 to 17. The math speaks for itself, and there is one more thread that becomes very difficult to ignore once you pull on it. The number 23, whose triangular sum produces 276 surfaces in another part of Scripture that every person on earth has heard at least once. Psalm 23, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil." It is the psalm of passage through mortal danger, the psalm of being led through the worst darkness and coming out alive. The shepherd walks with you through the valley of the shadow and you do not die. And Acts 27 is the narrative of that exact pattern lived out on the water. 276 souls passing through the shadow of death on a disintegrating ship in total darkness. A man standing up and telling them, "Do not be afraid. Not one of you will be lost." And all of them coming through. Every last soul. The 23rd triangular number of souls walking through the valley of the shadow of Psalm 23 and emerging alive on the other shore. If that is a coincidence, it is the most perfectly calibrated coincidence in the Bible. And if it is not a coincidence, then Luke buried something in that number that most of the world has been reading past for 2,000 years. No one can prove with certainty that Luke planted the 23rd triangular number in his storm narrative on purpose. What we can prove is that the number is there, that it is triangular, that 153 is also triangular, that both come from the sea, and that the word he chose was not the word of a shipping manifest, but the word of Genesis. The pattern exists. Whether it was placed by a physician, by a design larger than any physician, or by the kind of mathematical echo that surfaces in a text steeped in the number theory of the ancient world, that question goes to the center of what you believe this book actually is. Send this to someone who reads their Bible carefully and has never been told what was sitting in Acts 27 verse 37. Someone who knows about the 153 fish but has never heard there was a second triangular number hiding in the shipwreck. This video contains what was buried in a passenger count for 2,000 years. Send it now. 276 is not the only number in Scripture hiding a price behind an exact figure. There is another, possibly the most disturbing one of all: 30 pieces of silver, the precise sum paid for the betrayal of Jesus. Everyone knows the amount. Almost no one has ever looked up what 30 pieces of silver actually meant under the law of Moses, because it was not the going rate for a betrayal. It was the legal compensation for a very specific kind of death, listed on a schedule written into the Torah more than 1,000 years before Judas ever held out his hand. And when you find the verse the 30 pieces came from, and you read what it actually describes, the most famous act of treachery in history stops looking like the greed of one man and starts looking like a price that was set by the law before any of the people involved were born. That is next. Subscribe now so you do not miss it. God counted every soul on that ship, 276, a triangular number, a soul census written in the language of Genesis, a precision that no storm could scatter and no century of commentary has been able to explain away. The prisoner broke bread the way Jesus broke bread, and then the ship broke apart, and then every single soul walked out of the water alive. If that means something to you, go down to the comments right now and write the word counted, just the word. And if I see enough of you writing it, the next one goes up sooner. We are counting the buried numbers here. The ones hiding in the verses the world has been skimming for 2,000 years, and 276 was never meant to be skimmed.